Hey everybody, it's Mr. Jake from the Pittsburgh Y coming at you with another hashtag Y with Families challenge. It is day 4 of our Earth Week. So today we are going to be making something that is made by the Earth inside the Earth. And maybe you already know what I'm about to say. It's made automatically inside the Earth. Magma, absolutely, or lava, right? So magma is when it's still in the ground and lava is once it's come out of the ground. But basically magma or lava are molten rock, which means that it's rocks that have gotten so hot that they've melted, they've actually turned into a liquid. And I'm sure you've seen lava before. So we are going to be making ourselves some lava in a jar. And it's really, really easy. All you're gonna need is some water, some oil, so olive oil, I've got vegetable oil here, I've got canola oil here, not that really matters, and then Alka-Seltzer, or some sort of tablet that'll make things fizzy. So go ahead and ask an adult for a, like a glass jar that has a lid so that you can shake it up, and then you're also going to need that oil, and then ask an adult to get you something that'll fizz up. So let's jump right into it. So you can see that I filled my jar about halfway up with water, which is great. The next step is we are going to add oil. And I want you to watch what happens when I add the oil. In fact, I'm going to see if I can add it here on an angle. What's happening? See that? It forms a separate layer. You see that line there? Why do you think it forms a separate layer? When you pour milk and water together, they just mix. When you pour soda and water together, they just mix. Why do you think that is? Some of you might know, things like oils and fats, they don't like to mix with water. That's why waxes are a great example of something that doesn't mix with water. Go take an apple and run it under the sink, and you'll see that the water doesn't just soak into the apple, it sits on the surface because it can't get through the wax. So that's why this oil on top doesn't want to mix with the water, and it's separate, and that's very important in making our lava. The second thing is you notice that the oil's on top. And if you're really, really, really into science, you might know what density is. If you don't know what density is, that's okay. Just know that the oil is less dense. It's not as heavy within its space, so it actually floats on this. Just like helium in balloons is less dense than the rest of the air, so it floats up, it sits on top of it. This oil is less dense than water, so it floats up and it sits on top. But it's not so less dense that it'll float out of the jar. And then our next step, and actually there's a bonus step here, if you're so inclined and you have it, you can get food coloring and you can make your lava whatever color you want. Lava is yellow or red. It gives off those colors. You've probably seen that before, I'm sure. So I would probably use those colors if that's what I had, but I don't have any food coloring, but it'll still work. But this is a bonus step right now. You're gonna wanna add your food coloring and pay attention to what layer it adds itself to. And make a prediction. Before you put in your food coloring, do you think that it's going to go into your water layer, your oil layer, or both? Or maybe neither. Maybe you add your food coloring and something happens and it completely disappears. Make a prediction and then drop it in and see what happens. Okay, you got all your stuff? Got your food coloring in, you got your 2 layers? All right, sweet. Now this is the part that makes it bubbling lava. Okay, you ready? Yeah, you're ready. So I took 1 tab of the Alka-Seltzer and that's just gonna react with the water. When you put this in water, what happens? You guys played with these before? Yeah, it makes a bunch of bubbles. So the bubbles from the water, actually, you know what? Let's just find out, right? Let's see what happens. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. And if yours is bubbling kind of slowly like mine is, add another tablet. And what you can see is these tiny little bubbles of lava in the oil layer bubbling up to the surface. You see that? So it looks like a little pit of boiling rock, which is super cool. Now, if you really like this experiment, you can do it a couple times, and you can experiment by adding more or less oil, more or less water, or more or less Alka-Seltzer. And like I said, you can put food coloring in there too to see what happens. And after it's bubbled up, look at that, you can see it floating back down slowly. How cool is that? All right, well, you're probably having fun looking at your own. You don't need to look at mine anymore. But the reason I told you to get one with a lid is that after it's done bubbling, you can go ahead and put your lid on it. And even if you run out of Alka-Seltzer, you can always simulate this effect again by shaking it up a little bit. And then you'll see that it's kind of got these cool swirly bubbles going on in there. So that's always interesting to keep. Especially if you put food coloring in it, it can work as like a little lava lamp that you shake up. But that's all for today. I really enjoyed this one. That's the first time that I had done that one too, and I really liked it. I'd love to hear what happened in yours. Maybe yours did something different. Maybe you used food coloring and you didn't like it as much, and maybe you wanted to try it again. Let me know. And either way, I will see you tomorrow.